Hello everybody. This is Professor Parker-Shockley, and this stream is for 2D design. We're on Module 1, and the assignment is creating dynamic compositions. So if you are watching this video, then you are at the point in the project where you've cut your compositions out from from magazines, and you've glued them into your sketchbook like you see here. What you've done is you've cut out at least 15 of them, if not 20, and you've narrowed down which ones you want to draw thumbnails of. So in my notebook here, I have, with glue stick, I've stuck down the 3" by 4" cutouts. And then next to that, I've put the 3" by 4" space that's going to be my thumbnail drawing. So I have these three ready to go on one page in my sketchbook. Now, if you've read the instructions that were from the iCollege page, you'll notice that I talk about using tracing paper. So in class, when we are face-to-face, we use tracing paper to transfer the main lines from your image over to your thumbnail. And we do that in pencil. And that's just to kind of speed up the process. You can do it freehand if you want. You don't have to use tracing paper. If you don't have tracing paper or vellum or some kind of clear paper to do the transfer, you can just freehand it. But it's a little bit easier to get the main lines down by using tracing paper. So I have some tracing paper here. And what I did is I started with this one. And I went to the window where there was light coming in, and I taped the cutout to the window. And then I put my tracing paper over it and traced over the main lines. I didn't do any detail inside of things, but I really just wanted to get those main lines so that I could take it and transfer it over to here. And then once I have the main basic shapes in the right proportion transferred to this part, to the thumbnail sketch area, then I can start thinking about detail. I could start thinking about filling in areas of black and using my micron pen. So what is the method by which we take a thumbnail drawing like this and use it to transfer onto your notebook paper? Well, so what I've done is I've traced all the lines that I want from the drawing onto the front of the tracing paper. When I'm done doing that, I turn it over to the back. This is the back. And I retrace those same lines, pressing down pretty hard on the back. Once I do that, I'm going to flip it back over to the front, and then I'm going to put it over my square or my rectangle that I want it to transfer, and I'm going to line it up. And if I trace back over the lines on the front, that graphite from the back should transfer onto this paper. And I'm going to press pretty hard. I'm going to use a sharp point. So if you don't have a mechanical pencil like this, it's just as easy to use a graphite number 2 pencil. Just whatever you have that's graphite works. So then, now what I'm going to do is try to get this basic transfer. And you know what? I think I'm going to use, I have a feeling if I press too hard, I'm just going to break that pencil. So I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to just go over all the lines that I've already made. And what's happening as I do this is that graphite on the back should be transferring to the page. And I'm not going to lift it up to check just yet because I don't want to move the paper. And I actually might go back to the other pencil because this one is not quite as sharp. We'll see. The other thing is you sometimes forget which lines you've traced. And remember that once these lines transfer over, it's still just a pencil drawing, so you can erase, you can modify. I did this because I felt that it decreased students' anxiety. Plus, if they're not sure how something is going to look as a drawing, then they may take tracing paper and trace over 5 or 6 different thumbnails just to try to weed out which one they want to use for their drawing. Okay, making pretty good progress here. I'm hoping that it's working. And some of the lines are going to be faint. And that's okay. It's just going to, I'm pressing so hard, I'm probably denting the paper a little bit, which is also going to show me where to draw things with the pen. So after I get done with this transfer process, then I'm just going to draw freehand and start making decisions about what I want to do with this the interior parts of these little glass birds that have these funky reflections in them. I didn't even have to do all these interior lines, but I kind of wanted to. And now, if I'm not sure if I've traced all the lines, I'm going to peel back my paper and see what's transferred. Okay, this part could use, I'm going to try pressing down here, see if I can get that to transfer better. Not really. I think this is actually not bad. This is kind of what I've come to expect. It's really light. But now I can look over here and I could say, oh, okay, that's a shadow. And I'll just go back with my other pencil that has a sharp point, and I'm gonna just fill it in. And that's how I'm gonna start this drawing. Then I'm gonna go in with my pen and ink and think about how to fill in more of, I might start some with these really dominant areas of black in these shadows, because that's relatively easy on a thumbnail to get that done pretty quickly. Also, this line is really not that sloped, but as an artistic decision, I decided to slope it a little bit more because I thought it kind of started looking like a planet or something. There's room to take a little bit of artistic license in certain areas. What I'm going to do after I get this drawing set a little bit better is I'm going to start to make decisions about how to treat the value. And value, remember, is lightness or darkness. So, am I going to use some hatching or cross hatching? Am I going to use some stippling in areas that are not the solid black or the solid white areas? So, how am I going to treat these reflections? I do know that one decision I have definitely made is that I want the shadow area to be, the shadow area down here to be solid black. So on my thumbnail, that's something I can relatively easily go ahead and do. I'm missing this area right here. It's probably just fine to freehand this, but I think I missed drawing it all together. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so that area is a little bit tricky in there because it's so thin. So I will make sure that I address that. Alright. Okay, and if you'll notice these hash marks on the outside, I talked about using a grid for transfer. Knew that was going to happen. Get it to focus back. So these are just 1 inch increments. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. So that if you're going to freehand it, you're going to want to put a grid across this and a grid across here so that you can use that grid as a landmark as to where things cross over. You can almost draw cube by cube. I wouldn't recommend, well, I don't know. I'll demonstrate that later. This is really the easiest way. We're definitely going to use the grid method to take this thumbnail and make it into our 9 by 12 drawing. Okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to put these cubes here. We're going to have 3 cubes across, and we're going to have 4 cubes down. And we're going to do the same thing on our blank paper. That's 9 by 12. And that's going to just help us enlarge it. In this 1-to-1 ratio here, where we're drawing something the exact same size as it is, it's helpful to have that the grid there, but it's not as necessary as when you're enlarging something. It really helps your brain to get your head around how to make something 3 times larger. So that'll be the next video. Once I finish this, I'm going to come back this week and do another demonstration on how to take this finished thumbnail and transfer it, enlarge it, so that it's 9 by 12. All right. So what I'm going to do, I don't want this to be super long. I think, the main thing that people need help with is the tracing. Again, I encourage you to just, don't get super detailed on the tracing paper, because you're just going to have to retrace it and retrace it again. Save the detail for when it's in your sketchbook. All right, so I'm going to grab some Micron pens over here. And I think what I'll do first is just go ahead and I'm not going to do a whole bunch of detail work, but I am going to start to, I'm going to get those shadows so that they are black. So I have a 0.05, which is super skinny. I don't think I need that skinny. This is a 0.3. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the 0.3. Looks like I missed a little detail. Right here, there's a little bump out. And then it comes down like that. All right, I also take this retracing and retracing. It kind of draws your attention to areas that could use a little bit of fixing. Here I noticed that this actually touches here. So I have to decide artistically, do I want to try to recreate that? And I think I might. Notice that this line is also a little bit thicker, which I think I like, so I'm going to recreate that. The other thing that I like about the thumbnail is it kind of serves as practice. So it really, if you make a mistake on here, or you can try out different things on your thumbnail and say, well, I think I'll do it a different way when I do my drawing large, but not drastically different, but you can, the point of doing a thumbnail is to save yourself time, and so that you've not done, you know, on your big paper, you want to make your decisions when you're working very small and working very quickly. When you get to the big paper, you want to know exactly what you're doing and how it's going to look, and you don't want to have to start over after you're 3 or 4 hours into it, right? So that's kind of the reason for that. I don't see my 8 here, which is what I want for those big areas. That's all right, I'll just use the 5. So I'm just going to start, and then you can, I also have a Sharpie marker that I could use for these large areas. But what you want to do, if you're committing to an area being solid black, you want to really make sure you don't have these little lines, these little white bits of the paper showing through. You really want to make it solid. That's why it's better for you to choose a larger pen. For my thumbnail, I'm going to definitely try to see if I can use one of these Sharpies for this large area. You know, but the thing about the Sharpie is It's a different color. It's kind of got a purple tint to it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and blacken all my black areas. And then I'm going to start making decisions about the different kinds of marks that I'm going to be making. And where to put a little bit of stippling, where to put a little bit of hatching or cross-hatching. Hatching, again, are straight lines parallel to one another. Cross-hatching are when you have lines that cross over one another at an angle. And it creates value. Alright, so this area down here, down to this line, is also going to be black. So, just double check in here for an 8, because that is going to be speed my time up. Alright, now these micron pens you should have picked up at school. If you haven't done that yet, you need to just organize it with Jennifer so that you can pick it up. Alright, here's an 8. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to get all these little white areas that are showing through. This 8 is no good. That's a 5. And an 8 cat. So, you know what? I don't think there's any reason for you guys to watch me draw this because it's going to take forever. So what I can do is I can just upload it tomorrow and when it's finished. That way you don't have to watch me draw it because it'd be really boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put solid black, this is my plan, solid black on the shadows, solid black in between these, you know, where it's pretty much pitch black in the picture. Then where I'm going to take a little bit more time and make more decisions is in the areas of reflection in the glass, because there's all kinds of things I could do with that. There's some very bright value in it, there's some very dark value in it, and then there's some value that's in between. You know, maybe I can use hatching, maybe I can use stippling. I'm thinking right here where the darkness fades into light. I think that once I get this area all black, what I'm going to do is use stippling to kind of fade that area back into light, and then it's going to go to white, and then there's going to be those shadows. Now on these here, this is, I think I need to make that a little bit wider. These are cylinders, so I'm just going to shade them like I would a cylinder. This is basically a cube of sorts, right? It's just bent this way. It's got this plane here, and then it's got that plane there. When you have two planes that are facing the light source in a different way, they're different values. Like this has two planes here. The light is hitting this top plane, and this plane is in shadow. But as it goes this way, this plane picks up some light. So this might be a good area for either cross-hatching or stippling to kind of try to translate that value a little bit. So I hope you have an idea of how to do these thumbnails. Don't underestimate the time that it takes to do 3 thumbnails and make all these interesting decisions that you want to make. You may, and again, the instructions say to do 3 thumbnails, but since we're all, you know, this first week is kind of chaotic, if you only want to do 2, that's fine. If you want to do more than 2, that's great too. I just want you to get a good 1 or 2 thumbnails to choose from. So definitely do 2 thumbnails, make sure one of them's excellent, and choose that excellent one to make into a large drawing. I encourage you to do more if if you're kind of picking up and learning and experimenting. Um, so that's all I've got for today. I just wanted to get you going on these thumbnails, and you really want to be done with these thumbnails fairly shortly. I apologize for not having the weekly checklist up yet, but I'm going to get that going, and we will keep, the idea behind the checklist is to keep you on track work-wise so you can keep up with the flow and not get behind. So that's it for creating your thumbnails. After this, what happens is you choose the thumbnail that works the best, and we're going to take that thumbnail and we're going to size it up to 9 by 12 and do the final drawing. All right, we'll